Assalamu alaikum, you're watching Views and News and I'm Faisal Rehman live from our Islamabad studios. Again, today the topic is about the US withdrawal from Afghanistan. As we all know, situation is changing on almost a daily basis out there. If you talk about the Taliban, they are well, I would say these reports are the important ones. These are very authentic, and according to them, the area of Qandil, that huge city in the north, that has been encircled by the Taliban. They are taking over. You talk about the Tajik side. Most of these posts and compounds have been captured by the Taliban, and according to certain sources, the Afghan forces, they have not only left and vacated the area, but they have also fled into Tajikistan. Now, this is happening almost all over Afghanistan. Abdullah says that it is impossible for the Taliban to take over Afghanistan militarily, but this is what is happening. A very important date, that is the 25th, when Ashraf Ghani and Abdullah, they will be meeting the US President Joe Biden, and they'll be talking about the future settlement of Afghanistan. Other than that, a lot has been happening, and another very important story that the United States of America, in fact, almost a month prior to the incident of 9/11, had already decided that the Taliban government is not acceptable and they need to be toppled. And this is exactly what happened. And if you remember, Ahmad Shah Massoud was also killed in an assassination and attempt, and things did change after that. But quickly, the important areas that we'll be discussing in our today's program, let me go through them. Prime Minister Imran Khan says the Americans, before they leave, there must be a settlement. A political settlement in Afghanistan would mean a sort of coalition government, a government from the Taliban side and the other side. There is no other solution. He further added that in case the Taliban go for an all-out victory, there is going to be an incredible amount of bloodshed. The country that is going to suffer the most after Afghanistan is going to be Pakistan. And he said that there is no way we are going to allow any bases, any sort of action from Pakistani territory into Afghanistan. Absolutely not. We will be partners in peace, not in conflict. And the US President Joe Biden is due to meet Afghan President Ashraf Ghani and Dr. Abdullah, Chairman of the High Council for National Reconciliation, on June 25th to discuss the situation in Afghanistan. Another important statement by Abdullah, he said that it will be a big miscalculation on the part of the Taliban should they think that they can win militarily. And I repeat, there are no winners to the continuation of the war. And John Kirby, the Pentagon spokesperson, says that there is a schedule. We are mindful that the schedule should fluctuate and change as conditions change. The situation in Afghanistan changes as the Taliban continue to conduct these attacks and to raid district centers, as well as the violence which is still too high. So these are the major areas we'll be talking about. Let me quickly introduce you to our panelists. We have with us in our studio Dr. Qandil Abbas, expert in foreign affairs and international relations. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. And we have with us Lieutenant General retired Naeem Khalid. Lodhi sir, former Defence Minister, former Secretary of Defence. He is joining us on Skype. Thank you very much, General sir, for your time, sir.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much, sir. And we also have with us Imran Jan from United States of America. Imran needs no introduction. He's a senior columnist, writer, journalist. Thank you so much, Imran, for your time as well. And now, sir, if you allow me, let me put the first question to General Lodhi. General sir, a lot is happening in Afghanistan. A lot of your predictions, your analysis seem to be very correct now. It seems that the Taliban, they are taking over. There are reports that they have encircled the city of Qandil in the north. They have flushed out, let me use this word, flushed out the Afghan forces from the Tajik area, and they have practically moved into Tajikistan. You talk about the surrender of the Afghan forces that is taking place on daily basis, and the kind of strength they are enjoying now, I think they have never mastered that before. So first of all, what exactly is happening? Do you believe that the Taliban will take charge, will take control? Is that the solution? Or you believe that at some stage there has to be a meeting, some sort of an understanding, and then move forward?
Thank you very much. As we all understand that the situation is fluid and a bit of in flux. So it is very difficult to actually make a very strong, solid prediction that what is going to happen. but we can make our assessments, we can make estimates. One thing I want to clarify straight away, that whenever I express my views on the ground situation, just evaluating that which side is likely to be heavier in certain terms, it does not mean at all that I have some very strong affiliation with that side, because that has been misconstrued by some of my friends that I am pro-Taliban. I exactly contribute to the two principles which Pakistan has said, that one, we have no favorites, and two, it should be Afghan-led and Afghan-owned solution as far as Afghanistan is concerned. But uh, being a military man, evaluating that a thing, if the combined forces of US and NATO and Ashraf Ghani, they could not overtake Taliban and could not subdue them, naturally Ashraf Ghani alone will not be able to do it. I mean, this is a simple military logic, not even military logic, simple normal logic. So that way. So what I think is, first of all, I have a lot of respect for my Prime Minister Imran Khan, especially he has taken a very strong stance as far as allowing our area to be used, which is a very principled stance, and I think really represented the sentiments of the people of Pakistan. But two things which he has said. One, that Americans before leaving should do something as far as their the two sides and some rapprochement between them. Americans have already left. I mean, our Prime Minister must have that good assessment that Americans today are not in a position to do anything as far as talk between Taliban and Ashraf Ghani government is concerned. Anyway, that is his assessment. Maybe he knows that they are there in Doha, so maybe something can be done. And secondly, once we say that Afghan-led, Afghan-owned solution, then we cannot make statements, selective statements, that if this happens, we will not like it. If that happens, we will not like it. My dear sir, if you have left Afghanistan to the Afghans, then let it be so. Then why are we making selective statements that this should not happen and that should not happen? I don't know what is in the mind of our very respected Prime Minister, but I thought that I must express that. I think I've talked to Sohail Shaheen, the spokesperson of Taliban in Doha, and he told me three very clear things. And let me say that in your program. Once he said that we have declared amnesty for all those who will not resist the Taliban movement and the Taliban wherever they are moving. So that is one. He showed that as far as women, activities are concerned, or the girls' schooling is concerned within the, limits of Islam, that will be allowed, and there's no such thing that they will be prosecuted or something. Then they said that we do not want, this is important what I'm going to do. We do not want to monopolize Afghan government, or which he meant that we want inclusive government. So one thing is very clear, that they will be the main stakeholders, and why not? I mean, who else could be the main stakeholder as far as Afghan government is concerned, if we speak logically? But coming from their side, that they want inclusive government, and he also said that they want very good relations with all the neighbors and even beyond. He also said that we are interested in the economic build of Afghanistan and all these things. So what I think is, it is not going to be a total Afghan-Taliban onslaught. They must be talking to many people, but things will only become clear once the total foreign forces are out. They are not accepting any other foreign forces, even if they be Pakistani forces or Turkish forces. That also they have clarified. And they said that the second thing which they will not accept is that they want Islamic system. This is one sticking point, we can say, as far as we are concerned. We may not contribute to their worldview, but then let Afghans decide that what sort of system they want. After all, we have friendship with so many countries. They have some very different systems, and the world doesn't like their system, but still we are very friendly with them. So all said and done, I would say that the future dispensation will be Afghan-Taliban heavy, but there will be no long fight. There will be a civil strife, but not a long war as people were expecting, as people are expecting even today, that a lot of refugees will come. if half the country is already under Taliban and they are taking, district after district, where are the refugees? Have we received any refugees so far? So that is not going to happen. Some of the refugees will come from Kabul and all that, those who would like to save their life. So I think things will be much better as compared to 20 years earlier. And this region is going to benefit a lot, whatever will happen in Afghanistan, because the first, thing required was that the foreign forces must leave. They have left. The other things will happen automatically. A small strife, civil strife, a grand jirga, government dispensation, and then the thing will move on. This is what I think.
All right. Now coming to you, Qandil Saab. Now, first of all, what Jan Saab said, I mean, most of the areas, first of all, the version of Islam, that is something which we have been earlier discussing as well. That what sort of a version do they have in their mind to impose on Afghanistan? You talk about Saudi Arabia, you talk about UAE, both different versions. To be very honest, Malaysia is a different country altogether, though it's a Muslim country. Pakistan. So this is their own domain, but sure, they should do whatever they want to do. The most important part is that women rights, yes sir, they talked about that, girls' education, and obviously they don't want that, the most important factor is about the overall, economic growth of the region. And secondly, you talk about the immensity for all those who will surrender without creating any problem. And this is exactly what is happening, sir. I mean, if you could see certain visuals, you will be surprised to see the way the Afghan forces, they have left the assets the Americans had given them, whether in the form of jeeps, tanks, or the armored personnel carriers or weapons or otherwise, and they have surrendered or diffused, and most of them even have left. So this is what the current situation is. It seems that yes, Taliban will take over, they have already taken over. Now what, sir?
Thank you, Faisal. Really, I agree that situation is changing dramatically, and Taliban are paying 500 Afghanis or $130 to any soldier, and plus civilian new dress to them who are leaving for their home. So this is a way, and resultantly till now 41 districts are taken by Taliban, and especially they are moving towards the Har and other northern districts, and this situation is showing that this is the end of artificial settlement and artificial arrangements Americans and Afghan governments were trying to establish in Afghanistan. And that is artificial because now when it comes to their own capability and capacity, they are failed. This is not very ideal situation because I believe that at least Afghan government is comprising different and multiple Afghan groups. So the political settlement must be taken by Afghan government, but they are failed to convince Taliban, despite the fact that Pakistan convinced Taliban to come on to dialogue and political settlement, and we convinced them for political settlement. But America and Taliban, Afghan government were not able to provide practicable solutions. So now if Afghan government and their aligned groups are failed to establish long-term peace process in Afghanistan, so it will be initiative will be taken by Talibans, and they are single group. And when they will take initiative, definitely they will impose some of their own conditions on this
their own agenda, basically. Yeah?
This is not very ideal situation, but I believe that this is a time that because Ashraf Ghani and Abdullah are meeting with Joe Biden on Friday, and definitely they will discuss the current situation.
You believe the weightage of the United States of America has decreased since they are leaving or they have already left?
Sir, sure. You know that they are leaving Iraq, they are leaving Afghanistan, and they reach to the conclusion that their presence, military presence in different regions of the world have not been fruitful. That is why they are going back, but they need face saving. For this purpose, I believe that Prime Minister Imran Khan's stance is very, very clear that we will be part of any peace process and we will not be part of any demand for having our role in war or violence. So that is
we don't want to be a part of the conflict. Simple.
Of course, sure.
All right. Now, since we have also been joined in by Imran Jan Saab. Imran, Assalamu alaikum. Hello. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Imran,
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Hello. Hello?
I can hear you. Hello.
All right, now. In fact, I can hear my own voice. I would just request my production team to kindly, get connected with Imran again. Meanwhile, General Saab, let me come to you. The most important area, that needs to be discussed is about the future of Pakistan. We don't want any refugees coming into Pakistan, sir, if there is a civil war-like situation. Obviously, you have Dostam in the northern side. You talk about the Uzbekistan area. You talk about Tajik area, where the brother of Ahmad Shah Massoud and his son also are being supported by Abdullah. So what I'm saying is that resistance could be there, and that could lead to another problem. Perhaps you believe that in the future things could be sorted out, sir, on that level at least? General Saab?
Audible? Hello?
General Saab, the question is for you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So I was saying that it is a difficult situation, there's no doubt in that. But there are certain conditions which are different this time. One, that we have erected a very solid fence, nearly about 80% of the border. That is one. We have created special gates through which the to and fro movement can take place. And then also we have facilitated various factions talking to each other. And we have also been talking to Abdullah and Hikmat Yar and Uzbeks and Tajiks and everybody. And Afghan Taliban have also been, talking to everyone. I keep, mentioning the 2-3 meetings which took place at Moscow. And all these stakeholders were there. So as I said, that things will only become clear once the Americans are out. And secondly, once all those who are banking on America, they face the, real situation, which will be, not very soothing as far as these people are concerned, who still think that America can do something for them. Of course, America may sustain them through some money and all that, but otherwise, either they'll have to shift or they'll have to agree for a consensus government. So once Taliban are saying that they want to talk to everyone and they want to talk everyone on board, so I think they must take advantage of this opportunity rather than putting up a fight or something. They can later on they can wait for some better times as far as asserting their own views are concerned. But for the time being, the situation is that the real military power on ground are Taliban. If they cannot sweep entire Afghanistan, which is a difficult proposition, some corners will still be left, some nooks and corners cannot be cleared, but they will be controlling most of the area. So I think it all now depends on the Taliban and the other factions of Afghans, that how do they carve out their future. Now the only problem is, once we say that we have no favorites, it will only work if others also have no favorites. For example, if Iran, Allah forbid, they start taking some favorites and start helping them physically, then what will be our options? That has to be seen. Similarly, if America does not
their own
refrain,
favorites, because everybody has their own interest. Interestingly, whether they admit it or they don't, because Pakistan is going to definitely favor the ones who will be in support of Pakistan, not an adversary to Pakistan, sir. Simple as that. True. So the case is with Iran.
So what I think is that our foreign office must pay attention to this aspect, that they must talk to Iranian counterparts and ask them that this time let us not do the same mistake that you did and we also did the last time, that we started taking sides of certain factions. Let these Afghans sort out their own problems. We can have affiliations with you can keep having your affiliations, but please don't interfere physically, to support them. If that doesn't happen, I think things will be much better. The other thing which we need to do, our foreign office need to do, is that let the Chinese and Afghan Taliban sit together, and Afghan Taliban assure them about the ETIM, that they will not sponsor that, and they will not, allow any ETIM elements. And then they must also talk to Russia about the Chechens and all those things. And I think it is all doable. So I'm quite hopeful that this region is going for peace. Of course, there are spoilers, and America is number one spoiler as far as I'm concerned.
There you go, sir. Totally agreed. Now, since we have with us Imran Jan Saab, Assalamu alaikum.
Can you hear me now?
Much clearer, much better now, Imran. First of all, I'm sure you must have been listening to what General Lodhi said, and before him, we had Dr. Qandil Abbas in the studio also. Now, the situation in Afghanistan seems to be pretty fluid. What we were expecting, let's say, in the month of September or perhaps in August, has already started happening. Taking over by the Taliban, and that's a reality. Remember, I sent you a couple of videos also, and they were 100% authentic.
Yes.
Few of them were about the Tajik area, and some of them were about Kunduz also. Now, this is what we have practically seen, the way the Afghan forces are fleeing. I'm sure that the Taliban will take over. There is not going to be any resistance, number one. Secondly, the most important part is that the Taliban, which we had earlier seen during the late 90s, they had a very different agenda. American invasion had never taken place by that time. But now things are different. The adversaries are different. The interests are different. We are talking about OBER. We are talking about CPAC. We are talking about the South Asian connection with the Central Asian countries. Russia is getting involved. The kind of engagement they have with the Chinese. So much more has happened during the last 20 years. You believe now is the right time to bring in peace in the region, no matter whether it's the Taliban government or it's Abdullah's government or whosoever is in power. But if there is peace in the region, things will settle down, because during the last 20 years, the damage that has been done to the region through the Americans, because 9/11 definitely was an inside job, you know, I know, and everybody else knows as well. Why they came in, they had an agenda for the 2 decades of this 21st century. So now they could not achieve those, so they had to withdraw. Your take, sir.
So the time for peace is always, if you can achieve peace today, that time is better than having it tomorrow. So that's good that peace is returning to Afghanistan. Just a few things. Yes, a lot happened in between now and during the 90s, when the Taliban were actually created and Taliban came into existence. Taliban have also matured through these decades. They have learned a lot. At the time when they were created, they did not have much of what we call a worldview. They were a very nationalistic, and still are a nationalistic force. But now they understand the nuances of global affairs. They understand what they need to do and what they need to say. That is also why they are now allowing, and they are okay with allowing girls to go to school and have an education, because they genuinely believe that, and that is actually what Islam says too. The important thing is that the region cannot be controlled. It was never controlled. What I'm happy about is Pakistan was always seen as either a country that created problems for the United States or a country that helped the United States wage a war. This is perhaps the first time, if I'm not making a mistake, Pakistan is helping the United States achieve peace and a war. That, again, I'm not sure, but that's unheard of. The only parallel that I can remember was when Pakistan helped the United States achieve diplomatic relations with China during the 60s under Nixon and Ayub Khan. This is important, that Pakistan is now a country that is saying no more wars, no more taking sides in a charged environment, in a warring situation, in a civil war, almost a civil war situation. We're just going to look at our own interests, and we're just going to be careful about what we do. What the United States wants, when you think about when the U.S. says they want bases from Pakistan, this is exactly the behavior of what we call serial killers. You might have heard that when serial killers in the United States kill someone, they always come back to that kill site, in that place where they did the killing, or maybe even dumped the dead body, just to have a feeling from it, just to be happy about it. The United States is basically asking Pakistan to let them sit there so they can look back at Afghanistan and look at the mess they created and the innocent people they killed. That's exactly serial killer behavior. And it's good that Pakistan is saying, we are not going to let you do that. We're not going to let you indulge in that sort of a fantasy. So that is good. This is really good. Also, I want to say that every time there's a discussion of the United States and Afghanistan, we all see and read and hear that America's longest war is coming to an end. This is Afghanistan's longest war too. Afghanistan has been under wars, before, but this is their longest war also, and it really was their longest war. It's not like people in America could not go to Walmart or couldn't put gas in their cars. They could go about their daily lives while the war was happening elsewhere in the region. The Americans probably cannot even find on a map. But the war really was for the Afghans. The war really was for the Pakistani people. We paid in blood and treasure. We lost a lot of money. And Imran Khan did a great job by writing about these things in the Washington Post. The op-ed appeared yesterday. So that op-ed also just reminds me that when the world wants to see some problem in your country, especially the West, they always make noise about it, and they always remind it, they always see it. They see when the WNDs when they did not even exist. But when the world doesn't want to see a very clear fact, a very clear human rights violation, you will have to remind it to them. You will have to write op-eds. I remember Imran Khan writing an op-ed in the New York Times also about 2 or 3 years ago about Modi taking over the August 5 annexation of Kashmir. So as if the United States didn't know that that was happening. They had to be reminded. This is the same situation. Pakistan's perspective about not taking a side has to be reminded to the world, especially the United States, as if they are not trying to see it. So I mean, the way I see it, Faisal, good things are happening in that region. Peace is finally returning, and it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be, a piece of cake or a walk in the park. It's going to be difficult. There's going to be a lot of bloodshed, violence, chaos, including in Pakistan, including in Peshawar. Peshawar is next door to Afghanistan, and that place is going to perhaps, hopefully not, but it's going to pay a price in that violence, in the bloodshed. But again, the end result would be something, that is something to be looking forward to.
All right. Now, Khadija, one important area. The Prime Minister says that, if the Americans could not achieve their goals or their targets in the last 20 years, because October 6th or 7th was the date when the attack was launched on Afghanistan, correct, sir? 2001. Yeah. September means exactly 20 years they have taken.
Yes.
Now, they were there to eliminate Al-Qaeda. And interestingly, the presence of Al-Qaeda is still there with so many other non-state actors. You talk about, forget about Taliban, they were always the indigenous, stakeholders. Daesh is there, ISIS is there, you talk about Hizbul Ahrar, you name it in there.
A lot of other groups.
So many splinter groups actually who never believed in the ideology of the Taliban. They joined in various groups to, with other such splinter groups as well. Now, Prime Minister says that if the Americans could not achieve their goals in 20 years, things have gone from bad to worse after 20 years. The presence of all those are still there, rather, it has multiplied. Whatever gains they wanted to have, whatever sort of a war plans they had, that's a separate chapter. But, sir, the present tells us that, yes, the Americans, they have lost the war, they were unable to achieve their objectives. Perhaps one objective they really wanted was that their presence should be there so that the Chinese should not grow at that level, which they were actually. So the case was with the Russians. Now we really want them to come down, come south and use the warm waters. There was a time when, we used to sort of stop them. Dynamics, alignments, so much has changed, sir.
Actually, in the history, we had some common objectives and interest with United States in the region, and especially towards Afghanistan. and most of these objectives were based on war and military solution of Afghan problem. And we joined them mistakenly, as we have accepted that was our mistake. And recently Prime Minister highlighted in his article that we have some common interests which are not yet addressed in Afghanistan. These are mainly political settlement, stability, economic development, and particularly not providing any haven to terrorists in Afghanistan or in neighboring countries. So these are main objectives to bring peace in Afghanistan and to end the conflict in Afghanistan. I believe that American should also learn lesson from their defeats in Afghanistan, Iraq and different regions of the world, because during last 50 years they went to different regions, and in all over the world they have no example for establishing peace in the certain country or in the certain
or
region.
the democracy which they claim.
Of course, of course. So now when it comes to Afghanistan or Iraq, I believe that these are their last challenges, and they must learn lesson from these things. And now American taxpayers are asking question that what are you doing in these countries when we are facing lot of economic crisis inside United States? So what are you doing there? So now I believe that Pakistan, as Prime Minister highlighted, that we will be part of peace process, not part of use of military force. So I think that
Imran Khan always believed, when he was in opposition also or otherwise, that there is no military solution. There is no way you can actually win a war through
yes.
these means. It has to be a political settlement at the end of the day.
And
that is it.
That has been agreed in extended Troika joint statement. China, Russia, Pakistan and even United States they were there, and they were agreed that none of these countries will support any military takeover in Afghanistan, because that will be very dangerous, not only for Afghanistan, for the whole region, and that can be that can lead to another civil war in Afghanistan. So I believe that is very good guideline for future peace process, and especially neighboring countries of Afghanistan are agreed on this. And similarly, I believe that now Pakistan's role is very important, because during last 20 years when Pakistan was playing a very positive role and Pakistan brought Taliban to a table of dialogue, but we must be very clear and careful about spoilers, and especially the role of India, because they don't want peace in Afghanistan, because conflict and violence in Afghanistan is in their favor, because they are misusing, not using, they are misusing Afghan land against Pakistan.
Absolutely.
So that is very important. Now we must be very careful about spoilers.
That is a very important point. But one quick comment: do you believe that the frustration of the Afghan president Ashraf Ghani or the other high-ups, that seems to be there because he has fired his defense minister, he has fired his interior minister? Perhaps
also
the
Army
forces,
chief. Also Army
they,
chief.
former army chief also, sir?
Right.
Yes, 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 yes.
All right. So
Actually,
imagine,
they are not fired, they are missing and they don't know where they are. And some people believe that they joined maybe Taliban or may be other forces.
I mean, if that is
missing.
the case, then I think Ashraf Ghani is highly mistaken whenever he blames Pakistan. Now, General Saab, one important area, and I'm sure that is going to be a good conversation with you on that. The role of the spoilers. Do you think, sir, after the current happenings, the Indians might be thinking otherwise, because they perhaps thought that there is going to be a civil war-like situation? Even our Prime Minister is thinking on those lines. But let's suppose if it is not. If there is a proper takeover, there is a proper system, and peace prevails at the end of the day, then you believe that the kind of dreams the Indians had being in Afghanistan and using their soil against Pakistan, those dreams would be shattered, sir.
Although they will be shattered temporarily, but they will not stop pursuing their dreams. They will just change their tactics, change their strategy. Of course, it will be a story of that the grapes are sour, so they will not go for those direct methods of, siding with people who are anti-Taliban or anti-Pakistan or whatever it is. But you know that Taliban are talking to them, and I think that is good, and we have no problems. They are independent people, independent nation of one. They can talk to anyone, whomsoever they want. But for Pakistan, it is, and even for Afghans, it is very important to at least recognize that who all are the spoilers and who all are at the back of those spoilers. If India and America, they have a strategic relationship, so is it possible that one is a spoiler and one wants peace?
No, they are on the same page.
I doubt that.
Yeah.
You obliquely mentioned a thing, and I would like to clarify it, re-emphasize it. You said that what have they gained as far as the Americans are concerned, and I think your point was very valid. That for 20 years they have been here, which means that 20 years they have pushed back the process of Chinese influence, the Russian influence, and peace in Afghanistan. So all these things they have pushed back by 20 years. But that is all. After that, they are going back. And again, honorable Prime Minister's saying that we have some things in common, and he cites political reconciliation and peace and prosperity. So let me just ask a question: that if peace and prosperity returns to Afghanistan, who's going to benefit more, China or America, Russia
Chinese,
or
obviously.
America, Pakistan or America? So why should America would like to have peace in Afghanistan? So I think again I would say that diplomatically whatever our Prime Minister is saying is correct and politically correct. But in real politics, probably I can speak because I'm a freelance, so I can say that our interests are not overlapping as far as Afghanistan is concerned. But I'm quite sure, it seems to me at least, that with the help of Russia, China, Iran, and Pakistan, these four countries, and if we succeed in keeping America and India away from any future talks, probably Afghanistan will get settled. And of course, it will take a certain route for settlement, which I have already explained and tried my best to, as far as my assessment is concerned. So I agree with my friends who are saying that, especially Imran Khan from America, who was saying that the good times are coming. I'm also an optimist, because the first condition of good times to come was that Americans should go. That is happening. And then, of course, there will be certain difficulties, but ultimately the thing will get settled. And once the economic activity starts, which I am very sure that it will start immediately after the Americans leave, the Chinese activity, the Russian activity, Central Asian activity, especially Pakistan, Afghanistan activity, which will be most robust and most expanding as far as the future is concerned.
Sir,
Maybe
our
after
Commerce
some time.
Minister Razak Daud Saab was in Afghanistan a few months ago, where he had, been able to sort of, negotiate regarding the Afghan transit trade, and even between the import and export of Afghanistan, and so much more. So I'm sure a lot has been already decided, and we just need to, sort of implement certain conditions.
True,
there
and
as
one big thing that can happen is, and that I pray that happens, that if once Indians find out that their partnership with America in this region is not working against China, not working against Pakistan, not working in Afghanistan, they might change their attitude and probably think of joining CPEC rather than opposing it, and then taking advantage of the Afghan transit routes instead of opposing it and all that. So even after good, even better times may come for this region. Let us see. We have our fingers crossed, and let us hope that everything goes all right. But the only precondition is that, as we say that we have no favorites, it should be for everyone. And as we say that Afghan-led and Afghan-owned solution, it should be for everyone. If anybody tries to tinker with these two principles, then probably there will be a prolonged struggle, and it will not be good for the region.
Now, Imran Jan Saab, there was a statement by John Kirby, the Pentagon spokesperson. I mean, that is very meaningful, by the way, because yes, they are leaving, yes, they are going, But now there were also certain conditions imposed on the Taliban that, you need to relax. You're not supposed to attack or get into violence or something of that sort. Yes, they are not getting very violent, but yes, they are still, charging and they are acquiring the areas. What he said was that there is a schedule. We are mindful that the schedule could fluctuate and change as conditions change. So, do you think there could be some sort of a schedule change, or 9/11 is going to be the date, or 4th of July is going to be the actual date? It is not going to go beyond October for sure. Or perhaps there could be some sort of a different opinion, because a lot of people believe it is a reality that the US embassy in Kabul is the biggest in the world. And the interesting part is that there are thousands and thousands of people working there, and I'm sure all these people are not issuing visas to the Afghan people to go to USA. They have some other agenda. So their presence, what is that supposed to mean?
Well, statements like these, the one from John Kirby, as far as I understand, these are for public consumption, reminding the Taliban that you cannot attack civilians. This is just for public consumption. The real understanding with the Taliban from even the days of Donald Trump, when he made the deal last year in February, was that you should not attack the departing forces. America is withdrawing. The very fact that the withdrawal is happening is itself a big defeat for Ashraf Ghani, Amrullah Saleh, who, remember, is the most vicious man in Afghanistan. Amrullah Saleh, it's a defeat for India. It's a defeat for the war hawks in Washington, D.C. So that itself represents a defeat for them. It's a soothing statement, just to prevent the water from boiling in Afghanistan, as well as in the Washington D.C., as well as in the global alliances. The embassy perhaps will also vacate very soon, because without the American contractors present, without the American soldiers present, they cannot defend themselves. No one can stop the Taliban from marching toward Kabul. My advice to Ashraf Ghani and Amrullah Saleh would be, you have two options: either join the Taliban or run. And now is the time to make a decision on that. The reason why what Imran Khan decided is good, there's a very important nuance to that. Every time America has needed Pakistan for something, Pakistan is always enticed by the idea of keeping America as a close ally so that they can be stronger against India. This is perhaps, again, the first time that Pakistan is rejecting a proposal from the United States, which would, by the way, give Pakistan some benefits in the short term from Uncle Sam. But Pakistan is saying no to that. It is not getting attracted to the idea. It is not getting itself into that trap that it has always gotten itself in. So this is interesting. Even though Pakistan is facing threats from multiple sides, including, of course, India, it is saying no to the idea of keeping further alliance, a sort of alliance with the United States where innocent lives would be lost, because that will only generate hatred toward Pakistan. And America would be able to achieve what it didn't achieve in 2 decades, which would be to shift the blame to Pakistan.
All right.
That Pakistan has its fingerprints on the murder weapon, which is killing innocent people. And I also just want to add that we should, amid all this noise, we should not forget that once Americans leave and everything, India is still in an alliance with ISIS, and those people are still there in Afghanistan.
Exactly.
That is still a problem
Imran,
to show itself.
Yeah. Now, last quick comment on this, and that is about the non-state actors. What about the future of Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan? They are still there. How do you see that being managed now?
I don't think non-state actors like Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan are having any future, because they were supported and promoted by certain elements, those spoilers, and they have no future. I believe because academically realist perspective, which is based on struggle for power, is no more valid for this region. Now we need to promote liberalist perspective, which is based on cooperation. That must be promoted, and these non-state actors will have no place in this situation. And I believe that Pakistan and other Afghanistan's neighboring country must be involved in this process, because this issue must be resolved on regional level, and extra regional powers must not have any role in this resolution.
Well, simple as that, sir. But we can always hope and pray that things do settle down in Afghanistan. At the end of the day, I'm really concerned about my own country. I want that peace should be here as well. The economic development should take place.
Sure.
There should be great friendly neighbors. And at the end of the day, we don't want to see any bloodshed, because at the end of the day, sir, lives are indeed very precious. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. General Saab, was a pleasure having you, sir. And thank you so much, Imran Jan Saab. Always good to have you from States. And that's all we have for this, Saab. I'll see you again. Till then, you take good care. Khuda Hafiz.